Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Diana Martin, I'm the Executive Director here at Hourglass, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's forum, which is all about the potential of outdoor recreation for Lancaster County. For those of you who have been to our forums before, you might be a little surprised that we're up here. We were a little surprised too. If you didn't see the email, the air conditioning is out in the auditorium where we normally have our forums. But there's something about this forum, doing it under a beautiful blue sky, that really makes a lot of sense. So I think we made it work, and really appreciate all the folks from the Ware Center who had to build us a stage at the last minute and put out all these chairs and help us transform this space. So really appreciate the Ware Center staff. Tonight's event was inspired by the tens of millions of dollars of investment that have been unfolding in our community in recent years to expand trails, grow our access to natural lands, and to improve our infrastructure so we can hike, bike, and paddle safely in more parts of Lancaster County than ever before. Tonight you're going to hear about some of those projects and meet some of the leaders who are making them happen. But our forum tonight is also about emphasizing how these investments are more than just a great way to spend an afternoon. Outdoor recreation can have a transformative impact on our economy, tourism, our modes of transportation, health and well-being, and our overall quality of life here in Lancaster County. Tonight you'll hear from our keynote speaker, Dr. Nathan Regner. He's from the state's Office of Outdoor Recreation, and we'll also bring it home by showing a video and having a panel discussion with some local leaders in this space. Tonight's forum was made possible by our generous sponsors, including the Martin Harnish Foundation, Make Films, Connective, the Steinman Foundation, Lap Electric, High Companies, and Monty and Molly Milner. So thank you all so much for your support. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Nathan is the first director of the Office of Outdoor Recreation. Throughout his career, he has worked with communities all over the world to deliver outstanding outdoor recreation experiences while protecting their essential character, and we are so pleased to have him joining us here in Lancaster tonight. So thanks, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm a bit hyperactive to leave the microphone at the podium, so I'm going to walk around with it. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here with you. I'm really excited to share these thoughts and ideas. I sense an upwelling of energy here in Lancaster County, and I want to nurture that. It was 2 years ago when we were getting it began with the cubicle of outdoor recreation, and then we became the Office of Outdoor Recreation. And when we were making that transition, we did a lot of meetings around the state talking to people about what we were trying to do. And I came to realize our role in the Office of Outdoor Recreation is to blow wind in your sails. This is your boat here. You are the captains of it. It's your cargo. You know the destination to which you're trying to get. And we want to help you get there. And I hope by sharing some of these ideas that we're going to share tonight, we can do that. So yeah, my name is Nathan Regner, and I am the Director of Outdoor Recreation for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And not only have we graduated from the cubicle to the office, but we now have a team. I want to introduce our two team members, Tara Ramsey, our Outreach and Engagement Manager, and Janice Mullen, our Deputy Director. This is their second and third weeks on the job collectively. And they're still with us, so I'm starting to develop some confidence in my supervisory skills. Okay. Yeah, this is not a stand-up act. I need to remind myself of that periodically. Okay. In a previous life, I was a teacher. And when I would teach park management, wilderness management, outdoor recreation, I always liked starting with this story. And for those of you who have heard it 6, 12, 18 times now, I do not apologize. 1963, outdoor recreation is becoming a thing. The family truckster road trips of the baby boomers to the national parks are happening. We begin to see the precursors of the hippie backpacking boom. The environmental movement is starting. And scientists, social scientists, are trying to figure out what is this outdoor recreation phenomenon? What's happening here? And two of them, Baltina and Taves, were up in the Boundary Waters canoe area asking anglers about the fishing experience. What makes for a good fishing experience? And so they asked these anglers, how was your day of fishing today? And the anglers would say, our day of fishing was great. But then the scientists would say, we noticed you didn't catch any fish. How could you have had a great day of fishing without catching any fish? I see we have some anglers in the room. The anglers would say, well, we got up early and saw the sun rise. There's an eagle that kept flying overhead. And I had some heavy stuff on my heart when I got into the boat. And I spent the day talking it over with my buddy. And it's all good now. We had a great day of fishing. And what this story tells me is that there's more to fishing than catching fish. There's more to hiking than one foot in front of the other. And surely camping can't be about sleeping on the hard ground. We engage in these activities because they deliver us benefits. We got motivations, and we got to scratch those motivations. Challenge and accomplishment, learning and discovery, quality time with friends and family, escape from daily life, being a member of a community of recreationists. That is what outdoor recreation is all about. And I tell you, the benefits that these anglers, these canoeists, these paddlers are receiving up in the big wilderness of the Boundary Waters canoe area are exactly the same benefits that our friends on the Conestoga River are experiencing when we float our local waterways. So this is right here. It is with us every day, and it is for us. I feel, I'm ad-libbing here a little bit, I feel a great deal of fealty in the Office of Outdoor Recreation with the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. And I feel that fealty, that familiarity in the family-like sense, because outdoor recreation and the arts, these are effortful activities. These are hard things. But we choose to do them in our free time, and I think we choose to do them in our free time because they help us be our best selves, and when we do them together as a community, we are purposefully creating our best communities together. So I think this is very important for us. It delivers us these benefits. Outdoor recreation bears us a lot of fruit. It bears us so many different kinds of fruit, it's like a fruit salad tree. You guys know what a punchline is. Okay. Outdoor infrastructure is green infrastructure. Trails, greenways, green solutions to stormwater management, which I know Lancaster is a leader of. Our outdoor recreation infrastructure saves us money on gray infrastructure. Stormwater management, habitat connectivity, temperature regulation, air and water purification, etc. This is what the enviros have been beating the drum about for decades. Driving back and forth, doing laps between Lancaster, playing bike polo with Lancaster United, shout out. Driving laps between Lancaster and Harrisburg on 283. I used to see this billboard all the time, more fresh air and less hot air. I don't know anything about I know one thing about medical insurance. And that is, Capital Blue Cross would not be investing in advertisements boosting outdoor recreation if they weren't getting their end out of the deal. And so what we see in this is we know the physical benefits, strong muscles and bones, cardiovascular systems associated with the active lifestyles of outdoor recreation. During the pandemic, we certainly felt the mental health benefits of outdoor recreation. When times were stressful, when we were in crisis, we sought solace in the outdoors. We package those together and we get public health benefits. And if I were in a classroom, I'd ask for who knows what the most expensive thing in the world is? The answer is keeping Americans healthy. We've got the most expensive healthcare system in the world. We spend more money on healthcare than any other civil expense. And we can generate untold savings through engagement in outdoor recreation. Okay. When I hike down a trail, other hikers say hi to me and I say hi back to them. When I'm riding my bike on a bike path or a forest road, other riders and other drivers, they wave at me and I wave back at them. I hope this is not shocking to anybody. But when I walk down State Street in Harrisburg, nobody says anything to me. And when I'm riding my bike, it's not a wave that the drivers are giving me. And I think this is something we feel. I think this is like a universal experience. And in that small felt experience is the great truth that outdoor recreation activities and spaces bring us together. We live at a dividing time. The information algorithms are further specifying the stream of information we get. If we look at the landscape level residential settlement patterns, people are self-segregating in all kinds of new and different ways. There are fewer and fewer places and times that bring us all together. Put my foot in my mouth with the former Secretary of Transportation when I said there may be places that we all need to go, like the DMV, but who wants to go there? These are places that we want to go. We choose to go to them. Wallace Stegner, historian of the American West, said national parks. I say all parks, all outdoor recreation spaces. They're the best idea we ever had. Absolutely American, absolutely democratic. They reflect us at our best. And I tell you, it is awfully hard to get the neighborly love that outdoor recreation fosters to show up on a spreadsheet or a policy brief from within government. This is something we need to be talking about more. Is this a crowd I can curse in front of? Okay. So I've talked to you about green infrastructure. I've talked to you about health, physical health, mental health. I've talked to you about neighborly love. That sounds like a bunch of hippie stuff. I pulled up short, I couldn't do it. That sounds like a bunch of hippie stuff. Let's talk about the cold hard cash. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, our outdoor industry generates $17 billion of direct contribution to our gross domestic product every year. That's 2% of the private economic productivity in the Commonwealth. 1 out of every $50 earned within this great state is earned exclusively due to outdoor recreation. It supports 164,000 Pennsylvania jobs, and those jobs exclude proprietors and 1099 employees. And we know that most of our outdoor businesses are small proprietorships, and that ever more people are finding their career pathways through independent enterprise that comes with a 1099. These numbers might be useful in Harrisburg when we're talking about big picture items, but let's talk about how they touch down in communities. Here is where I am going to ask for a show of hands. Who here knows what a linear regression model is? Every hand should be up. Okay, this is a study that my good pal and colleague Silas Chamberlain sent to me. And when you sent this to me, you said each one of the blue circles on these slides is one of 668 small and medium-sized rural and industrial communities in the American Midwest. He said, hey, do a find and replace on Midwest with Pennsylvania, and the story is same. Does anybody here know anybody who lives in a small or medium-sized rural or industrial community? Okay, so the way this works, I'm going to come over here to gesture, because I got to. We got 2 sets of twins. 668 small and medium-sized rural and industrial communities in the American Midwest. Quality of life is our independent variable on these two, our driving or our causal variable. On these two, it's quality of business environment. Our dependent or response variables, the thing that is changing, we're looking at population growth. Are our communities growing or are our communities shrinking? And employment growth. Is the percentage of that population that is employed growing, or is the percentage of that population that is employed shrinking? Well, what we see are strong positive relationships between increases in quality of life and the population in communities and the percentage of those populations who are employed. Now, when we're talking in Harrisburg about the big picture strategic challenges that are facing Pennsylvania on a 30, on a 50-year time scale, nope, it is that variable right there that is like our top level important one. When we look at the relationship between quality of business environment, population growth, and employment growth, we see a strong negative relationship between quality of business environment. As quality of business environment improves, our communities shrink. We see no real change in the percentage of that shrinking number that is employed. Now, how do we measure quality of business environment? regulatory relief, tax relief, low prevailing commercial and industrial property costs, and low prevailing wages. People are cheap, land is cheap, regulatory and tax compliance is cheap. When we ask people in these high quality of life communities, hey, why is your quality of life so high? They say, well, we've got easy access to high quality outdoor recreation, we've preserved the architecture of our downtowns, and we've filled it with contemporary cultural services, which I think is code language for breweries and cafes, galleries, specialty retail, events, arts and cultural spaces. So what we see in this data from, I want to say, 668 communities is that the pathway toward prosperity in the future is through quality of life, and outdoor recreation is a big component of that. So what are we doing about it? Well, we created an Office of Outdoor Recreation in the Commonwealth to unite, grow, and strengthen our outdoor economy. And who here has heard of an outdoor economy before? This is going to be an interesting question. Whoa, you all are well informed. Was that from the invite to this? So in Pennsylvania, when we talk about our outdoor economy, we talk about it being made up of three pieces. Our outdoor industry. Talk a little bit more about that in the next section. The contribution of outdoor recreation to broad-based community and economic development, and that's the slide that we just saw, as well as the green infrastructure and public health savings costs associated with outdoor recreation. These are the three components of our outdoor economy. I'm a little lost here. Where are we? Okay. So, in the Office of Outdoor Recreation, this new entity within government, I want to share a little bit of familiarity with you because I hope we'll be working together more in the future. The first strategic goal we're charged with is to grow the capacity of our outdoor industry, grow the capacity of our businesses, help the outdoor industry organize. It's easy to think of outdoor recreation as a nice Saturday outside with your friends and family. Outdoor recreation is that. It is also an industry in Pennsylvania and a strategic tool for economic development. And to realize that vision, we got to help our outdoor industry organize. We got to develop our outdoor workforce. How many youth that think about jobs they can have in the outdoors in the future think beyond fishing guide, ski lift operator, or park ranger? You can be an attorney, you can be an accountant, you can be a graphic designer, you can be a physician, you can be a digital marketer, all within the outdoor industry. We got to develop our outdoor workforce. Our outdoor workforce, demographically, race, ethnicity, ability, identity, language spoken at home, etc., does not come close to reflecting the socio-demographics of the Commonwealth. And that's a problem if we want more people engaging in this. Second core strategy, build capacity for community and economic development through outdoor recreation. That's what we're doing here. We got to steer policy and funding in ways that are relevant downstream. There's a story, Pennsylvania Wilds. Who here knows Pennsylvania Wilds? Okay, cool. Pennsylvania Wilds went after a mega, like 50, 70 million federal grant to grow an outdoor economy up in the wilds. They made it very far in the process, did not get the big enchilada, and when they were given feedback as to why they did not give it the big enchilada, part of the feedback was, you're not creating enough jobs, Pennsylvania Wilds. To which the Pennsylvania Wilds says, it's not jobs we need. We have 3 jobs for every 2 residents up here. We need people living here, and quality of life will bring them here, not more mills. And what this story tells me is that Washington, D.C. is keeping score in a way that is irrelevant to us. And I'm sure that is just as true from Harrisburg to our Pennsylvania communities. So we want to work hard in the office to understand what the downstream needs are, steer policy and funding in ways that address them, at the same time as we bulk up our local and regional capacity to take advantage of that policy and funding. I have other colleagues in Harrisburg saying, Nathan, I got millions of dollars sitting here in this pot. I want to send them to outdoor recreation projects. And I know in Pennsylvania we have no shortage of energy, inspiration, commitment. What we do have a shortage of are grant writers and project managers. And so we got to go to the gym, and we got to exercise, and we got to get our local and regional entities strengthened to be able to take advantage of this policy and funding. And we see this happening across a three-step, no. I used to say we see it happening across a three-step process, but I don't do that anymore because it implies when we get to step 3, we're done, we congratulate ourselves, and we go home, and that's not the way it works. We get this done through a 3-slice pie, a 3-part approach. First, I work out of DCNR. Pennsylvania's Office of Outdoor Recreation is brought to you by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources in cooperation with the Department of Community and Economic Development. First thing we do, we preserve and we develop our natural resources. We create the outdoor infrastructure and the experiences. Second step, we bring people to enjoy them. This often is connected to tourism. This is connected to service industry opportunities to create the total experiences around this outdoor recreation, and we begin to see quality of life in communities really advance. And then we move on to step number 3, where that quality of life stimulates broad-based community and economic development. Youth, university graduates want to stay. Entrepreneurs have the spark of ideas and start new businesses. Outdoor recreation is used as a business attraction tool to sell site selectors on why, when you're looking to move your corporate headquarters, when you're looking to develop your new manufacturing facility, you want to do it here. You want to do it here because your people who are going to work for you will be happy. You will not be on that carousel of human resource cycling. This is what we're working on. Now, I've talked about industry, I've talked about economic development. Let's not forget about the humanity of all of this. We got to build capacity for equitable and inclusive well-being through the outdoors. I say unequivocally here and now, the outdoors belong to everyone, and everyone belongs in the outdoors. Yeah, do it, Todd. Yet, we know that ain't true. We know not everybody feels welcome in the outdoors. And that's for technical reasons of knowledge of time. It's for cultural reasons, intentional and unintentional. And we need to address those today. And at the same time as we're opening the doors to the outdoors for everyone today, we got to have our eyes on the future. I work for Secretary Dunn. Secretary Dunn is fantastic. What I know is that the Secretary of DCNR that we're going to need in 2050 and in 2060 is different than the Secretary of DCNR that we need today. And whoever is going to be our secretary then is beginning their career today. And so we got to think, do the people we need in leadership positions 20, 30 years from now have the opportunities to start their career track today? Do they even see themselves in this career track? And this is more than government. That has to do with industry. It has to do with community leaders. And there are very few opportunities to set a multi-decadal path. I hope the Office of Outdoor Recreation has one that we can work on. You like that little behind the back thing? Okay, I'm getting the move on quickly thing. Okay, so what the heck are we gonna do about this? Here's where I give a shout out to our fine colleagues at the Department of Community and Economic Development. Who here has heard about Pennsylvania's economic development strategy? First, woo! We got to work on this. First comprehensive economic development strategy for the Commonwealth in like 20, 25 years, something like that. Pennsylvania gets it done. These are the 5 priority areas within that strategy: to invest in our communities for economic growth, to make government work at the speed of business. We're talking permitting here, people. We want to open the doors of opportunity. Yeah, I'm going to share that with DCED. We got to open the doors of opportunity. This harkens back to everybody belonging in the outdoors and the outdoors belonging to everyone. We need innovation in all of our industries, and we want to build vibrant and resilient regions. These are the 5 strategies that will govern economic development for the foreseeable future in Pennsylvania. And I tell you, there is a play for every community and every business connected to outdoor recreation in each and every one of these priorities. How are we working on it from the Office of Outdoor Recreation angle? Well, we're trying to organize our outdoor industry. We've got a project going on right now to help our outdoor industry organize, to advocate for itself in Harrisburg the way every other industry does. And I want you to take a minute and look over this and think about just how broad our outdoor industry is. Everything from design and manufacture through hospitality services, guide, outfitter, campground, ski area, events, all of our mountain bike rides, ultramarathons, hot air balloon festivals, bass tournaments. And there are professionals, there are consultants, there are accountants, there are attorneys, there are medical healthcare professionals. There are creatives working in this space, journalists, videographers, content creators, app designers. We were just at Prevail. Was it Prevail? We were just at Prevail Ventures earlier this afternoon, developing a technology stack for online retail. The largest archery specialty retailer in the country is located right here in Lancaster, and you wouldn't know it because they do all their work on computers. We're also looking at innovation in the outdoors. What does an outdoor innovation hub in Pennsylvania look like? What would Rock Lidditz be if it were Outdoor Lidditz instead? We're still going to make this symbol when we talk about it. We got Factory LLC in Bethlehem, a food and personal care product growth accelerator, helping small regional brands grow to a national level. In Michigan, we got Isaac, an advanced sewing facility that hooks up brands with supply chains for fibers and fabrics, AI-powered sewing machines, whatever they are, cooperative marketing and distribution out the back end. We have prototyping facilities for motorized recreation to support the electrification of motorcycles, ATVs, snowmobiles. What is our outdoor innovation hub in Pennsylvania? That's a question we're going to work on answering over the next 2 years, and I ask you now to get your minds working on it. Outdoor opportunity funds are growing across the country in states. New Mexico's was the first. These are funds specifically dedicated at diversifying our outdoor industry. Ours here in Pennsylvania, it must be directed at supporting minority, underserved, Black, brown, queer, disabled businesses, and providing leadership-level pathways for people working in these sectors. And, as I said before, we need to build out our local and regional administrative structures, our regional economic development organizations, our trail and greenway authorities, our planning commissions and conservation districts to be better equipped to support us as we grow this industry. Now, this is hard work. And I tell you, when we're working on it, sometimes this is what it can feel like. You should have seen it when I stumbled. But I know this is what we're actually doing. So thank you for letting me share these thoughts with you. I hope they've stimulated some ideas.
Great. Thank you so much, Nathan. I feel like if I could bottle that energy somehow and take it with me, and we're right on time. My number one job description is just being a nag about time, and here we are, so we're doing great. So we really took a big picture view of outdoor recreation with Nathan's talk, but I promised you we were going to bring it home, and you'd hear more about projects going on right in our backyard in Lancaster County. So I'd love to roll a video that we produced with Make Films, and thanks to the Make Films crew for helping us tell the story of all the investments happening here locally. Thanks.
Outdoor recreation is so important for a community. What I've been most surprised about is the economic benefits we've seen from the investment in trails.
So the site we're at right now is the Columbia Crossing River Trails Center. This is the hub for outdoor recreation on the Susquehanna River. At first, in 2016, we could fill your day, but now in 2024, we could fill your weekend. And that means that people are getting hotel stays, they're renting from our outfitters, they're shopping at our local shops. So they're supporting a much bigger network of businesses than they were when they were day trippers.
Columbia has the Northwest River Trail, but it doesn't have a regular bike shop. We saw that gap and we wanted to be able to come in and fill it. We're a nonprofit community bicycle center. Being able to provide programming for youth and adults, but also provide that bike shop experience was something that we really wanted to do.
A lot of people don't have access to tents, they don't have sleeping bags, sleeping pads, and if they wanted to do bike packing, they don't have access to racks. We want to provide a service where they can actually afford to be able to do this.
The trail has brought a ton of traffic to Marietta. We're in a tiny town, there's 2,600 people in Marietta, so the trail has just made more of an impact on people just being in this town. You know, what 100,000 people a year come through this trail, all looking for places to eat, you know, spending money in the shops and supporting local businesses.
The idea that more people are coming to Lancaster County and exploring our rural areas, our river corridor, is an incredible opportunity for our community long term. We feel there's a real urgency to protecting the remaining forested lands along the Susquehanna River before they're developed. Once they're bought and developed, they are lost forever. We focus on Lancaster County, but also here along the Susquehanna River in York County, with the Susquehanna River being a key connector to our two communities.
The river used to be a barrier between our two communities of Lancaster and York County. I think it's the glue that keeps us together. Directly across the river from us here is the Mifflin Farm, and it's planned to become the Susquehanna Discovery Center. The designation of a National Heritage Area here in the regions of Lancaster and York County means that you have investment from the federal and state level long term. And that means that as opportunities arise to protect lands, to expand trails, to tell stories, those opportunities can actually happen.
We've got a lot of exciting projects in the works right now. One of the big ideas in our county comprehensive plan is to connect people, place, and opportunity. The Lancaster Heritage Pathway is a 12-mile on and off-road multi-use recreation trail that cuts through the heart of the Lancaster metro area. It's going to run on what's called the old boat path, which is the Route 23 bypass, all the way through the city of Lancaster and connect with the Little Conestoga Blue Greenway corridor.
The Little Conestoga Creek Blue-Green Corridor project. It's primarily a stream restoration project. In addition to that stream restoration work, which is built around legacy sediment removal, there's going to be about 3.3 miles of trail that will be established running along the Little Conestoga Creek, attaching it in Old Storeward Park in East Hempfield Township, down in Lancaster Township and Marietta Avenue, and then up north by Harrisburg Avenue. There'll be another trailhead up there.
The Conestoga River Water Trail is a lot more than just a place to go paddling. It's 32 and a half miles of designated Blue Route recreational corridor. We have 14 usable access points at the moment. This is where we're building our first handicap accessible facility. We build the amenities, we make it accessible. We make this Kayak Town USA, and this is the place where recreational boaters come to have an adventure.
Well, Sunnyside Peninsula is a very interesting one. Most people don't realize there's 70 acres within the city limits that's available for a nature preserve that'll be available to the residents of the city. So that preserve also called for the establishment of an environmental center. The vision there is to create a place and a space where all kinds of partner organizations and interested environmental groups and individuals can come and can gather, can do research, can do applied science, and figure out ways to accelerate how we tackle environmental issues.
We're excited about a new initiative looking at the outdoor recreation economy here in Lancaster County and how we can leverage outdoor recreation to enhance our economy overall. So we have a lot of great outdoor recreation assets, whether it's the trails like we're standing on today or the Susquehanna River. So we're partnering with Discover Lancaster, Lancaster Conservancy, and Lancaster County to really dive in and figure out how we can enhance this sector and again, use outdoor recreation to help build the economy overall in our community. For example, strategies to identify the key trail connections that could be most powerful to attracting more people, helping the businesses to understand how they can be more inviting to trail users. How can we have bike racks and benches in a town so that, again, people are drawn from that trail in to support the businesses? And then ultimately how we can message all of this and what our community has to offer.
I mean, we stand here in this river corridor, and it has been completely transformed in the last 10 years. But it took 30 or 40 years of planning to get here. There was a time when people were talking about the Columbia of the future, the Marietta of the future, and we're now witnessing that, but that took a lot of planning. So I think it's always important to look out far ahead.
We have these great rail trails, incredible hiking trails. I really hope to see more people coming to Lancaster County to ride bikes, to kayak, to go hiking on all of our world-class infrastructure.
We are growing. Lancaster is a model for other communities. I hope that we continue to build on the network that we have developed in Lancaster County.
We see a lot of opportunity here for outdoor recreation to become part of the identity of our community, where we have robust assets that are well connected and people want to come to Lancaster County. That's ultimately what we see here is a real opportunity to continue to build something that we can be proud of as a community and leverage to support our economy.
Invite all of our panelists to join me on stage, please. If you ever want to feel short, sit on one of these stools. Okay, great. Thank you all of our panelists for joining us. My first question is for Nathan. After you saw the video, are we going to make your next slideshow of all the cool stuff that we have going on in Lancaster? I said, after you saw the video, are we going to make your next slideshow with all the cool stuff we have going on in Lancaster?
New material.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for our panelists for being here. I want to start with Ezra Rothman, who is the president of EDC Lancaster. If you know EDC, it's not a very crunchy organization. If you probably think about EDC as, helping businesses grow, giving out loans. So what are you doing up here in this outdoor recreation space?
So since you opened the door, I'm jealous of Fritz, who gets paid to walk around on trails all day and bring people out. That's why I'm here. I don't know what else there is. No, in all seriousness, we see a huge opportunity here. I mean, mentioned it in the video. Our organization is really focused on helping businesses to stay and grow in our community. So typically what we're doing is getting out, talking to businesses, providing technical assistance, lending opportunities when we're ready to grow, doing some economic research, and leading when we see either opportunities or challenges that will have an impact on the long-term economic health of our community. And this is where we see a significant opportunity in two areas that I'll probably come back to. One is urban redevelopment. So Lancaster City is doing great, and we have 18 boroughs in Lancaster County who could really use a hand. And trail connectivity is one of the significant ways that we can help have some influence there. Secondly is attracting and retaining young workforce talent. We hear from businesses constantly that we have an aging workforce and they are struggling to find employees. And here, again, we have an opportunity to help make Lancaster a place where young people want to come and live, where they want to work, where maybe they just come to Lancaster for school and ultimately stay here because of some of these opportunities.
Ezra, you talked a little bit in the video about a new outdoor recreation economy initiative that you're working on. Can you fill us in on what's going on with that?
Yeah, so we're really excited about this. I mentioned in the video our partners, and I'll reiterate that. So we're working with Discover Lancaster, the Conservancy, and Lancaster County. I believe I saw Scott. Yep, there's Scott, and our friend from the county, to really figure out how we can leverage the amenities, the assets that we have here to enhance our economy. So we also have 3 buckets that we're working on that we're looking to learn more about. So one is really being able to identify what is the outdoor recreation economy in Lancaster County. Who are those businesses that take advantage of trail users? We have a very strong manufacturing base here. We know we have manufacturing of outdoor recreation equipment here. Again, identify, put some broad numbers to the existing outdoor recreation economy in Lancaster County. We then want to identify what are the gaps? What are the areas that we're not taking full advantage? So we hear a lot, and it was in the video, I talked about urban redevelopment. A lot of times we hear boroughs say, if we could only get that trail connected into our downtown, that would help unlock our downtown. And we completely agree with that. And just getting a trail connected to a downtown isn't enough. We need programs that provide wayfinding for people to understand, hey, I go a couple blocks up this way and I can get to the businesses in town. We need to help businesses, again, said it in the video, but understand how they can be appealing to trail users. So muddy boots in your business, that's okay. Letting people in to just use your bathroom, also, that's okay. That is part of being a trail town or being a community that is welcoming to the people who are willing to patronize these businesses. And then lastly and most importantly is come up with an action plan. So to have concrete steps for our community to leverage all of the exciting projects that are coming on to help that advance, again, the economic health of our community. So we have an RFP out to find a consultant to help us figure this out. We are, again, not experts in this ourselves, so we're excited to engage a consultant and get working on this and be able to deliver that action plan before the end of the year next year.
Thanks, Ezra. So we heard a little bit from Nathan about all the jobs that are connected to outdoor recreation. What are you hearing from businesses that have nothing to do with outdoor recreation about how this might help them attract or retain talent?
Yeah, so let me just, my personal anecdote on this, I did not grow up in Lancaster County, don't hold that against me. I came to Lancaster to go to college, and I stay here because I can live in Lancaster City, vibrant downtown, and in 2 minutes, I can be out on my bike in world-class cycling land. So I see that, we see that as a competitive advantage for Lancaster County. Vibrant downtowns, whether it's Lancaster City or a borough, and fast access to world-class outdoor recreation. There's not too many other places where you can get that. You can go to Philly and have a great, vibrant city. You could go out anywhere in the T of Pennsylvania and have great outdoor recreation. We have both. And we need to be able to leverage that as a community. So to answer your question directly, what we hear from businesses, one, again, need more workforce, need more younger people in our workforce in Lancaster County. But when businesses are trying to recruit executives from other areas, a lot of times where they really struggle is just to get the person into Lancaster County to visit. In Lancaster County, outside of our community, we all know why Lancaster's special, but people have some different thoughts and feelings about what it's actually like here. When those businesses can convince someone to visit here, whether they force them somehow, whether they're reluctant or excited to come visit, once they visit, they agree to come to work at whatever that company is, and they stay here. So we need to figure out, and we'll elicit some of your help in this, Joel and Discover Lancaster, and how do we package that up so that we can have that message when we're trying to recruit people, when we're helping companies to recruit people, and that, again, Lancaster County can have that reputation for vibrant urban spaces and access to outdoor recreation. And that's really where we see the opportunity from the employee attraction and retention side.
And next thing you know, everyone at EDC is going to be wearing flannels. So we're coming full circle.
Working on it.
Thanks, Ezra. Joel Cliff is here with Discover Lancaster. We've been talking a lot about this outdoor economy. Tell us about specifically tourism. How big of a piece of Lancaster economy is tourism?
Yeah, it's pretty big. Discover Lancaster is the official tourism marketing organization for the county, which including the city, although we work very closely with the City Tourism Bureau as well. 10 million annual visitors, 2.6 billion with a B in visitor spending. This is every year. 3.4 total economic impact, and 26,000 jobs, which puts us in the top 10 industries in the county. So tourism is a large part, not only symbolically, but reality of Lancaster County today.
I think Lancaster has a pretty iconic brand. A lot of people are coming here. They want to see the Amish, maybe shop at the outlets. If we're lucky, them to come see some art downtown. how are you expanding our tourists' perception of what we have to offer here in Lancaster and getting people out in the county maybe to enjoy some of these outdoor rec spots we have?
Yeah, many of you may know us as the Pennsylvania Dutch Convention and Visitors Bureau. That's what we were up until 2015, from 1958. It's very pigeonholing, it's very bureaucratic, and it's very long. So after a couple of years doing some different focus group work and in terms of what we wanted to do, we changed the name to Discover Lancaster to really get people their mind around discovering all that today's Lancaster has to offer. And that, as I say, we're in our 10th year of that. And it was not meaning to leave behind that which people know us for in terms of learning and experiencing the Amish culture or having some great Pennsylvania Dutch dining or going to our outlets. What we wanted to do was give them 5 or 6 or 8 more great reasons to come here rather than just the 2 or 3. Expanding demographics, expanding interest areas, and 3 of the key ones that we brought out of that were the arts, food and beverage, and outdoor recreation. And outdoor recreation is a large part. You might not think, that we're trying to do the job of changing the Amish story here, but we have been. I've been there since 2008. As has our director of sales, as has our director of marketing, all of us, 16 years. And everything we do incorporates the city and different aspects within it, and has from the beginning. But you don't turn an ocean liner on a dime. It takes a while. And we've been making progress, and outdoor recreation is a large part of that with regard to some of the growth that we see in visitor interest with regard to feedback. As well as different experiences that have come online here. And it's also great in terms of working in conjunction with a lot of our partners, but from the economic development side, with regard to the quality of life, with regard to recruitment and retaining of talent and companies. We want to do our part there because a lot of times, a lot of the messaging that we're sharing can be very beneficial in economic development as well. So outdoor recreation is one of our leading edge items in that.
We heard in the video, it came through loud and clear that there's a lot of hope that visitors will come here and enjoy our trails and waterways. How much is that happening now, and how much do you anticipate that will happen in the future as we continue these investments?
Yeah. One of the silver linings of the pandemic was we were talking about fresh air fun back in the summer of 20 and even into the beginning of the fall. And I think folks, obviously from a lot of urban areas, which we draw from already as main markets, really did want to get out into some fresh air fun. And I think it sort of further supercharged the work that we had already been doing for the previous 5 years on outdoor recreation. And really getting a chance to, I talk to so many people oftentimes, because geography is not necessarily a lot of people's strong suit, that don't realize our western border is the Susquehanna River. That don't necessarily, they see a beautiful farmscape, which is gorgeous, but that you can also bike and hike through a lot of it, and that there's a lot of opportunities there. So with having, different things like the little Conestoga project, like the build out of the Enola low-grade trail, including what Scott's going to talk about, hopefully connecting with it from Quarryville, many different, we've had all sorts of different biking and water-based activities come online over the last, 3, 4, 5 years. It just continues to grow with regard to it being on the radar of our current and potential visitors. And I mean, at 10 million people, if you think even, 1 in 10, participates in some form of outdoor recreation while they're here, that's 1 million people. And we certainly see nothing that will keep us from growing that in the future.
Thanks, Joel. I'm going to kick it down to Fritz. Fritz Schroeder is here with the president and CEO of Lancaster Conservancy. You really can't talk about outdoor recreation without the Lancaster Conservancy. I can't tell you how many times they came up when we were just filming this video. So many of our publicly accessible lands are owned and operated by your organization. Can you talk about some of those resources?
Thanks, Diana. And good evening, everybody. So I'm going to go the whole way back to the very beginning, 1969, the founding of our organization 55 years ago. It was a small group of hunters, anglers, and farmers who were concerned about the loss of forested land in Lancaster County. And the original charter to our organization actually says to acquire land for recreation and education. So 55 years later, I wonder what they would be thinking. They would probably be pretty shocked if we were here talking about the outdoor economy in this way. It's pretty amazing. But 55 years later, we've helped protect over 10,000 acres of forested land. We have 8,500 acres under management and 51 unique nature preserves, both in Lancaster and York County. 60 miles of hiking trails, with several trails, new trails opening this weekend. 40 plus miles of stream corridor. And really our focus is on opening those preserves for each of us to use 365 days per year.
Thanks, Fritz. You mentioned you have some new exciting things going on that are going to make these lands even more accessible to our community. Can you talk about some of those projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So land protection remains our number one priority. We just had a board meeting this morning. Our board voted on the acquisition of 4 new parcels, 2 in York, 2 in Lancaster. Next month, we'll be announcing an addition to one of our beloved Lancaster preserves. And at the beginning of the new year, another announcement for York. That's in addition to the 4 that our board approved this morning, because of course it takes a while to acquire those lands. But then we get to open them, and that's our stewardship team who works diligently to manage our preserves for their highest and best ecological value. A big priority for our organization right now is access. You'll hear us talk a lot about access. And next week we'll be opening a new 1-mile universal access trail at the Clark Nature Preserve. Essentially, universal access means it's a flat trail that is as ADA compatible as it can be for people of all mobilities. And what we realize is that not everyone wants to go out and do a challenging hike in the river hills. But they want to enjoy nature. So whether you're a family, a small family that wants to get your kids out safely in nature, or you have a mobility challenge, this trail will be open to the public with little pull-offs and benches, opportunities to observe and walk through a beautiful meadow and into an upland forest. And that's the 3rd of 6 planned universal access trails, 4 in Lancaster and 2 in York County. And then, of course, this weekend we're hosting Trail Fest. By show of hands, anyone going? Trail Fest? So at Wizard Ranch, it's just 2 minutes off of the Route 30 exit at Wrightsville. Former Boy Scout camp, 278 acres. And when we acquired it, it was in what we call full canopy collapse, where it was covered in invasives. The invasive vines were covering the native trees, both the understory and the overstory. And our stewardship team and our volunteers have gone in and systematically, acre by acre, gone through and started to restore this property. We are planning in the final stages of engineering for 26-acre floodplain restoration on this site that'll take place in the next 4 years. But this weekend, we're opening several miles of new trails. We're inviting everyone out because it's a learning lab. You get to come and see and hike a property that is in full restoration, and you get to see what it looks like now and what it'll look like in the future.
Did you notice how Fritz threw in that he had a board meeting this morning, so he's not just hiking trails all day? I think that's what that was for. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Ezra.
Fritz, talk to me about how recreation meets conservation. So I know those 2 things are complementary, but there's also some tension there. As we get more people outdoors, what does that mean for our environmental impact here in Lancaster?
I mean, we were very pro get people outdoors. I think it's our wonderful Secretary of Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Cindy Dunn, who says outdoor recreation brings people to conservation. It's the gateway. And we have seen that through and through from the time of the pandemic, when, of course, we saw a huge spike in users on our nature preserves, and we saw the wear and tear, till today, where we still have seen a huge uptick. And our stewardship teams, really, the goal is to build our trails in a way that people want to stay on the trails, and that we protect the forested lands and the ecosystems around those trails, which is extremely important to the longevity of those preserves and continuing to invite people out. The other thing we're seeing is just people wanting to engage, more people wanting to volunteer, more companies, corporations, college groups, youth groups coming out and volunteering, participating in interpretive events. Our volunteer land steward program continues to grow. We're doing basic and advanced trainings through all the programming that we're doing, and we're just seeing a huge thirst for people who want to learn more people like yourself and mine that want to, we're on this ongoing journey. We're here at Hourglass, we're learning, and there's lots of people that want to kind of translate that into action on our nature preserves. So we're embracing it fully. I will add also that about half of our nature preserves are open where there's parking and trails, and then half of them are considered habitat preserves where we do allow hunting, but there isn't as high an impact, and our stewardship team is very selective in how they go about choosing which preserves can handle the traffic.
Thanks, Fritz. I'm going to kick it down to Emily Landis. She is the new education director for the Little Conestoga Creek Blue-Green Corridor Project. Long name, very cool project. We saw a little bit about it in the video. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, I can. So the Little Conestoga Project is really three things rolled into one. So first of all, it's a trail. Second of all, it's a stream restoration project. And third, it is an outdoor learning laboratory that will be a long-term community asset for a really densely populated suburban and urban part of Lancaster. So to break it down, this blue-green corridor project, the green is the 3.3-mile non-motorized ADA accessible trail. And what it will do is connect people to recreation, and also it will be a practical direct route to major landmarks. So as I think of this 3.3-mile trail, I'm thinking not only of the 3 trailheads with parking, but I'm thinking of more than 7 different intersections that will connect to the Heritage Trail going into the city and out into the county. I'm thinking of the other parks that it'll connect to, Longs Park and Old Dorwart Park, healthcare services at LG Health, the lands of F&M, the crossings, do your shopping at Wegmans. So there's so many things that are coming together in this connector trail. The blue part of the trail is the stream and ecosystem restoration part of the project, and it is really one of the largest projects of its kind. The reality is that the Little Conestoga Creek is impaired, as is more than 50% of the streams and waterways in Lancaster County. So this is a major effort to clean up the waterway and build healthy ecosystems around it. So 1.7 miles of the stream will be restored by removing this legacy sediment. Soils that have been polluted, that are really choking the Little Conestoga and that have built up over the past 300 years. So you'll be seeing new riparian buffers, meadows, and restored wetlands along this corridor that will really improve the health of the water and create a continuous habitat along this 3 miles that both human and nature can connect along.
You raised a really good point in your remarks there that we're not just talking about remote and rural areas when we're talking about outdoor rec. That's a project that's right in the heart of the metro area of Lancaster. Why is it important to think about these projects in these highly populated areas and not just out in the preserves that we're hoping to protect?
Yeah, all the spots that I just listed, you have to get in a car to access right now. So non-motorized transport will be a game changer. I'm just thinking about the fact that I could bike or walk to all of these places, do it safely and efficiently in a beautiful space. Wow, that'll be a big improvement. Accessibility is huge. The fact that it's fully ADA accessible in a high population zone, giving people access to nature. You can use it close to home. You might use it close to your employer. You might use it for running errands. So you're connecting residents and partner organizations up and down this trail, and you're really building civic engagement and community. The last piece that Nathan touched upon really well is human health and quality of life. I think people will be happier to live here and gain a third space that is safe and green to recharge their batteries. So trails are good for mental and physical health, and this will make Lancaster a better place to live.
I know that you personally are very excited about, there's room for applause. There's always room for applause. Yeah. We never stop that. I know personally you're very excited about some of the educational opportunities that will be found on this new trail and project. Can you briefly just bring us up to speed on what those could look like?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked, Diana, because I think I think that education is not just nice, but really necessary for our collective recreation and conservation work. So the most distinctive goal of the Little Conestoga project is to be an outdoor learning laboratory. So that will be for 3 different Lancaster populations. The first is the public. We want to help them learn about environmental science, about how the past shaped to the present, and how they can take action to help nature in important ways. You can expect amenities along the trail, including art and signage and exhibits and audio guides. We're working on a citizen science app, and there'll be demonstration areas where you can get ideas for building healthy ecosystems at home and in the community. For the K-12 population, I think this is really important. We're planning to partner with the IU13. Lauren's out in the audience. Woo! What we're looking at are the new state curriculum standards. So the science standards that are rolling out are called STEELs, and they include for the first time environmental literacy and sustainability. So this means that all K-12 students will need to go outdoors a lot more. They're going to learn by doing, they're going to conduct investigations, and they're going to lead environmental action projects. So they're looking for outdoor locations to connect, and we can meet their needs and really meet teacher needs by creating outdoor classrooms along our trail, creating ecosystem access points where they can really get in there and see what a wetland looks like, lesson plans, teacher trainings. I'm really thrilled that Pennsylvania is actually leading the way in bringing environmental literacy to the forefront of our science standards. So, we can make that sing on our trails. The last piece is higher education. So we're thrilled to be partnering with Franklin and Marshall's Chesapeake Watershed Initiative. So the trail itself will be a major research site. They are a collective of geology and economics professors, postdocs, students and staff that are studying water quality, collecting data before and after the restoration, and trying to better understand the benefits of this legacy sediment removal and ecosystem restoration. So for me, the big takeaway is that the education pieces are needed to catalyze future restoration and action to help the environment in Lancaster.
Thanks so much, Emily. I'm going to kick it to Scott, and then we will have some time for questions from all of you. So if you have a burning question in the audience, think about it now, because we're going to kick to you guys for a couple. Scott Peiffer is the manager of Quarryville Borough. Has anyone ever been there? Have you? We've heard of it?
Somebody raises their hand.
Yeah, great. So Scott is the manager at Quarryville, and he's working on a really exciting project to connect Quarryville to the Enola Low-Grade Trail, which I think is the longest trail in Lancaster County. Can you talk a little bit about that project?
Sure, but first I would just want to, I know Nathan's hyper, I've heard him talk a couple times. I wore my kayak socks that I bought in Wellsboro in the PA Wilds region that my wife and I went to bike and also hike at Colton Point State Park. So that supports, we spent thousands. we ate while we were there. So we spent thousands of dollars in the PA Wilds. But I think kudos to Nathan. I always enjoy hearing him speak. But our project involves connecting to the Enola Low-Grade Trail, which we actually kind of embarked on this back in 2020. It was before I became manager. I worked for Public Works, and kudos to DCNR, our regional advisor, Lori Ike. I love her. I wish she was here. But kudos to her. She said, Scott, why in the world aren't you applying for grants to connect this trail? And I said, I'm not the borough manager yet. Next year I'll start on that project. And we did in 2020. We started on that project. And it took a while. I felt like I was in the boulder field there. We had to get our elected officials on board. That can be a bit of a challenge in a small municipality that everybody has an opinion. That's America. That's great. And it can be a challenge to convince everybody that this will be a good thing down the road. And that was my vision, that down the road, it might not seem feasible right now, like big deal, we're connected to a trail, but down the road, it's going to be huge. And I looked at places like Columbia, Marietta. I went up, had lunch with Freddie States, talked to Mayor Lutz in Columbia, had him come down and talk to us. So I saw the value of connecting to a trail. We embarked on that mission, went through all the steps, the hoops we needed to jump through as far as surveying people. Where do we put the trail? Kudos to Mike Doman. He came down to Quarryville numerous times and met with me, was my mentor. Like, Mike, where on earth do we put this trail connection at? What's the best place? How do I go about this? So Mike helped us through that. And we got to the point where we applied for funding. We got fully funded through DCNR as well as DCD and Lancaster County ARP. I think Commissioner Yoder was here somewhere. So we had funding, full funding. It's out to bid. It will be out to bid in about 2 weeks. So the trail accessibility will be fully accessible. I was so disgruntled, and this became my mission, as Lori Ike would say, somebody has to champion stuff. And I was so disgruntled, I lived in the borough, and I would have to load my bike on my truck and take it out to a trail access and not be able to access the trail inside the borough. So that really drove me to say, we got to do this, and primarily also to get people off the trail into the borough was the other idea, the economic impact.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that. What are your hopes for once this trail is connected? What are your hopes for Quarryville, and what's the reaction been there?
Obviously, our hopes are that it will, spur some entrepreneurship like Columbia, Marietta, other York County trail towns. We're obviously excited about Discover Lancaster taking on the trail towns concept. We've met Marietta and Columbia and we've met Quarryville. We're excited about that component. But we obviously want to see more folks come into the borough, utilize food, services, places to stay. And we're just hoping to see a little bit of a comeback in a smaller downtown area that we have. And I think we'll see it. I think the data's out there. It's very obvious from other towns that have benefited from connection to a trail. So we're excited about it. We're looking forward to some economic improvement, opportunities for small business to increase.
You want your own McCleary's in Quarryville.
If I could get Freddie down there, I'd gladly have him come down.
Yeah, that's great. You're sort of wearing your local government hat on our panel today, and a lot of these projects have been happening with public-private partnerships. They really can't happen without municipalities at the table, whether they're helping with maintaining this infrastructure or permitting, applying for grants. Can you talk about why it's important for local governments to be part of these conversations, and maybe something you've learned that would help some other municipalities?
I think the value of local government is first of all, it's a community of people together, and you need that government entity, to me, to really connect with the other agencies of the Commonwealth, DCNR, DCD. A lot of your municipalities have built that relationship up. They have that relationship with these potential funders and regulators as well, DEP and these other regulatory bureaus. And I think that's valuable to have that networking ability, and I agree. I mean, private-public partnerships are great. We pretty much went on our own here as far as a municipality to try and get what we wanted. But I think it's valuable, and I think municipalities have a lot to offer. You have folks that have volunteered to run for an office, either get paid extremely little or get paid, in our case, none of our officials are paid at all, even though they could be. Our mayor's not paid, borough council's not paid, they refuse to take money. And those folks are really there to represent the residents of the community, and they're there to make the community a better place. That's really their role. So I think it's so valuable that these smaller municipalities realize that they can change their municipality. It just takes a champion. It takes that borough council, that township supervisor board, to say this is a direction we're going to go, and it's going to take a while. It's 5 years to get where we have funding and we're bidding a project out, and that's just the way it works. But I think the value is that those municipalities can continue to kind of grind through all that and get through it.
Thanks, Scott. Well, we have time for a couple questions from the audience. I have board member Brian over there who's going to help us out, Brian Davison, and I think Tim Lapp is going to help run a mic around. I see a question right here, and maybe, you guys can help get them out to the audience.
The mic on? There we go. I'm actually going to pull rank, Diana. I'm sorry, but I'm going to ask the first question. Nathan.
This is why they're my boss.
Well, that's not true. You did a great job tonight, by the way. Thank you all for being here. What a great presentation. Thank you for coming, everyone. Nathan, my question is for you. I love this story about the anglers and the clarity that those two people had when they got off their canoe, I'm assuming. And I didn't grow up a hunter, but have been introduced to hunting over my life through my father-in-law, and have had many boring days in a tree stand. And have grown to, I initially did it just to harvest the meat that I ate for the first time, and fell in love with the whole experience of that. Even on the down days when you see nothing and it's raining and the blizzard comes across in your face. And never realized how, I guess, primal it is and how spiritual it can be. So would highly encourage anyone to get involved in that. But my question would be, of the $17 billion of Pennsylvania revenue generated, what percentage would you say comes from specifically the whitetail harvest?
Oh, there's an actual answer to that question that I do not have on the top of my mind right now.
Yeah.
And happy to share that with you. That data, that $17 billion that we shared, that comes from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and Federal Department of Commerce. It's the Outdoor Recreation Satellite Account. And satellite accounts are kept for 3 industries in the United States. One is travel and tourism. One is arts and creative community, and the other is outdoor recreation. And the reason this economic data is generated through a thing called a satellite account rather than a primary industry account is that these sectors of our economy, outdoor recreation, travel, tourism, arts, and creativity, are themselves actually a meta-industry, a composite of many other facets of other industries. So this data was mandated by Congress. U.S. Congress passed a law in 2018 requiring the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis to create this data. And really what it was is the first recognition of outdoor recreation as an independent industry in and of itself, an industry like every other one. I don't have the specific numbers for you on whitetail hunting or hunting in general. I can assure you that hunting, fishing, trapping, wildlife viewing are in fact included in that data. And if you have a specific interest in that number, we can certainly get it to you.
No guess?
Oh no, I wouldn't hazard.
Fair enough.
I really wouldn't hazard. But anybody with a cell phone can look up USBEA Outdoor Recreation Satellite Account PA, and it'll come right up for you.
I forgot to mention when I introduced Nathan, he has a PhD, so that's coming through in the here in the analysis. Another question from the audience?
Tim, you're up.
Yep. I'm not going to pull rank.
My question is, or maybe it's a comment for Ezra. You were talking about bringing on a younger workforce as the workforce is aging, but we also have out there an increasing population of much older people who are physically fit and very, very active and maybe a little bit economically challenged. And those are people you can draw on too. They need the money, they have the physical ability, and they have the knowledge and the skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the comment, and I think another reason why we're so excited about outdoor rec, and I hope that my comment was not taken as exclusionary. Outdoor rec cuts across everyone. It's an opportunity for everyone, and it's appealing to everyone. So I hope that does come through, and that is a reason why we're so excited about this.
Thank you. Okay, I think we got another one over here.
Thank you. I think you did a great job too, Diana. Everyone did, actually. Thank you.
I'm only calling on people who say that, so if you raise your
Yeah,
hand.
right, exactly. We're plants. But anyway, y'all did a great job. Thank you very much. Very informative, very interesting. Really going to help out Lancaster County for sure. My question is for Scott. Where does the trailhead start in Quarryville, and how far does it have to come up to connect with the Enola low-grade trail?
So the area we picked to have the connection is North Lime Street. It's a borough street. We went the easy route. We didn't have to do a PennDOT. Sorry if anybody's from PennDOT. So it was a lot easier, a path of least resistance, kind of. People were using it as we call them bunny trails in town, like little trails that people tried to get on the So I can talk really loud, actually. My wife knows. So the issue for us was the trail's really high. So it's a $500,000 project. It's not like, oh, work out best. It was one of two top choices we had. And there may be more down the road. We see an influx. We have a private owner, speaking about public-private, we have a private individual that now has got permission to access the trail off their own property. So they're looking to develop that property into overnight accommodations and or restaurant retail, something of that nature. So there's already some movement in the private sector that sees the value of the connection. How far do you have to go? It's about 300 feet, I believe, the connector. So it's right against the trail. It's just a matter of elevation.
Once you get up, how far did you get to the middle of the river and then it comes down? You're connecting to the middle of the river and
Yes.
it comes down to Manor Township, right?
We're connecting into Borough, and then to go to Manor Township, the Manor Township Trail, I have a map in front of me. I guess it's about 14 miles. Something like that, yeah. I know it's 10 miles from Quarryville.
Testing. I think we're back.
So yeah, but for us, and obviously the trail's starting to go east. Eden Township section's just about finished. It'll probably within a week or two, I'm guessing.
Okay, I think we still have time for another question from the audience.
Hi guys, thank you guys so much for being here. This has been great. Question specifically for Nathan, but if anybody else has any Lancaster specific answers, that would be great. Nathan, you kind of mentioned earlier the lack of jobs in outdoor recreation, or the kind of the struggles to get them, whether they're part-time, seasonal, or they just don't really support a full-time person. As a person who had to leave Pennsylvania to go start their outdoor recreation career and have come back, those jobs are still very few and far between. You have to go work in Harrisburg, or unless the Conservancy has a job open, there really isn't any options. So I was just wondering what you guys are kind of doing, if you have any thoughts or plans to help people actually get careers and jobs started in this industry.
Thanks for the question. It's an important one, and it's one we're approaching on many fronts. So first we're looking at the skills and needs gap. It's not always apparent what the workforce needs are in our outdoor industry. My former counterpart in Maryland, a person named Darrell Anthony, was talking with Maryland's ski area. Isn't it cute? They have a ski area. WISP. And when, what do you want me to poke fun at Ohio instead? And when Maryland's director was asking WISP, hey, what's your greatest need for workforce? It wasn't ski instructor, it wasn't lift operator, it was plumbers. If that plumbing operation goes down at the ski area, the whole thing stops, full stop, no money being made. And it's a specialty kind of a plumbing system, and it's a seasonal job. So the first thing we need to do is understand better what our job needs are. And I think this is part of kind of the efforts that EDC is working on around their study. Another thing we need to do is expand the narratives associated with our outdoor industry. Begin to think of it broadly, like we discussed earlier. We have digital marketers and app designers. We have accountants and consultants working in this space. In other words, you can work in the outdoor industry indoors as well. It's not just outdoors. We need to diversify our outdoor workforce to expand the swath of our society that can see their futures in this. We need to, point number 4 is we need to skill up, value up these jobs. There's a very wide part of the pyramid at the bottom of the workforce, so to speak, that are seasonal jobs, that are relatively low wage, often non-benefits bearing, often relatively hardship in terms of working hours, working conditions, like your ability to have a personal life and still do the job. And we need to help develop tools to lift up people working in there. And here I want to give a shout out to Penn State. Through the Penn State World Campus, there is now sort of a pedagogical certification that mirrors the snow sports instructor certifications. So as ski and snowboard instructors are escalating from level 1, level 2, level 3, they can also get accredited accredited credentials from Penn State in natural history interpretation, kinesiology, things like this. And really, I think the fifth thing we need to do is work on housing. In many of our areas that have a strong outdoor industry, particularly an outdoor industry connected to tourism and hospitality services, housing for workers is a real problem. And I see a colleague from the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association in the crowd tonight, and I want to give a shout out to some of the good work that PRLA is doing around workforce development on these topics. And I think for those of us in these allied industries working these problems together, we can make a lot of progress.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to bring it home here. I have a final question for all of our panelists. You got to end on the future-looking question. What are your hopes for the future as we continue to build out outdoor recreation in Lancaster County? Let's just go right down the line.
Okay, so I'll actually have two, sorry. One,
What are your two thoughts?
So Scott didn't mention this, and I'm sorry. Every time, so we often get borough managers together, and every time we get together, without fail, all of the other borough managers rag on Scott because he doesn't have a brewery in Quarryville. Yet.
I'm holding out here.
And that's what he says, and then we have the next meeting, he still doesn't have a brewery in Quarryville. That said, if Scott is going to get his brewery in Quarryville, it's that connectivity to the trail that's going to get him there. And economic development is not just about breweries, but that in all seriousness goes to show, I know, it is some days, just goes to show the potential for changing our communities and for changing our downtowns, and we're doing it in Lancaster County, and there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. My second answer, and this was already alluded to a few times, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's important. There are so few issues that cut across community health like outdoor recreation does, whether that's the physical and mental health that we talked about, whether that's the economic health that I'm focused on, or the environmental health of our community. This is such an important issue and such an opportunity for us, and I'm so proud of everything that's going on and excited to see where it goes.
Thanks, Ezra.
Yeah, before mentioning mine, I'd echo what Ezra just said there at the end. I mean, you talk about, you hear about a twofer, that's a fourfer, where you can get benefits in so many different ways. I think for us, in the tourism space, I look forward to that day where outdoor recreation and what Lancaster County has to offer is consistently ranked within our visitors and potential visitors as a leading item that's drawing them here. We're certainly getting that in spurts, in certain pockets, in certain demographics, but not necessarily consistently. It kind of wavers with regard to some of the responses we see sometimes. Getting that known, you talk about hidden gems. I'd like to make this a shiny, huge, well-known gem. And the work that I do specifically at Discover Lancaster is in the public relations realm. I do a lot of work with travel writers and other types of journalists, and always bringing them out to different spaces in that. Sometimes it works for the story, sometimes not. Sometimes it's the headline, sometimes it's just a paragraph. But consistently bringing that message out there, and I think creating memories for a lot of families, because it does, depending on what's being offered, it speaks to 20s and 30-year-olds, which we've, sometimes not been able to draw as much, but that's been changing. It speaks to families, and it speaks to intergenerational travel as well, all of which are huge trends within tourism.
So I know I kind of referenced a lot about economic advantage of the trail, connection to a small town, borough, whatever. I talked a little bit before to Emily about the community it develops. So when I go into an old low grade in Quarryville, I see people of all ages, all abilities, families with little kids on little trikes, with little training wheels, to people, bikers that are cruising, doing the whole 20-some miles and back. And I just am warmed by the community that trail develops. And I think the value of the outdoor recreation, it just mimics what everybody's saying, but it develops this true community, and folks want to live in a community where they can have communal space, they can be together, they can be healthy in that space, They can be social with each other, folks that may not think the same way they do, or look the same way they do, or talk the same way they do. But those are spaces where they can develop those relationships and truly build these smaller boroughs, these 18 boroughs we have in Lancaster County. That's what will build those boroughs up, these communal spaces and this outdoor recreation that's created by them. So.
Well, Ezra brought up beer, and so I thought I'd mention that there'll be beer and live music at Trail Fest on Saturday. We'll have Collusion from York. So for me, it's and there's so many partners in this room, and a lot of this is about community, as Scott just expressed, and coming together. And for me, that's really livability. It's restored streams and rivers. It's corridors that run from our beautiful nature preserves up into our suburban areas that are fully restored, natural habitats that connect into the city. That vision for the trails that has been laid out here tonight, and improved streams where we can fish, improved forests where we can hike, where our forests are cleaning our air, interconnected trails from those nature preserves on the Conestoga Trail to the Mason-Dixon Trail that are fully protected and heavily used. And it's as much about kind of each of us and how we collaborate and work together and kind of what we know and see as an amazing community right before our very eyes, and what it looks like in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, which is the lesson I've learned from some of the unsung heroes like Mike Doman and like Lori Yike. These are people that have been doing this way ahead of us as far as trendsetters. So they deserve a shout out again.
Yeah, so my hope for the future of the outdoor recreation economy in Lancaster is that, it really inspires people to care for our environment. So I look around Lancaster and I love how lush and green and the beautiful agricultural lands that we have. But then I recognize that, we've lost 50% of our wetlands here, and we're down to 12% of the forest cover in the county, the lowest of any county in Pennsylvania. And we only have 5% of our original natural lands. So I think it's so important to, protect what we have and then catalyze environmental restoration to preserve more and to treasure it, to really connect people to appreciate it and care.
Okay, the future I'm looking forward to. I've been trying to find a way to say this that didn't have a negative in it. I'm not quite there yet. So the future that I'm looking forward to is one when we leave behind the perception that outdoor recreation is something that is frivolous, that is extra, that we do when we get around, when we're done with all of our business, with the change that's left over in the couch at the end of the year. And when we realize outdoor recreation is an absolutely vital part of our community, that it is in fact an industry in the Commonwealth, and that our outdoor infrastructure is just as critical to our broad-based economic development as our roads, our broadband, our water systems, our sewer systems, etc. That's where we need to get.
Thanks, Nathan. Let's give a round of applause to all of our speakers. Thank you so much to all of our speakers and all of our sponsors. Thank you for all of you for coming out today. Appreciate you being here. I have to say, one of the reasons we wanted to do this forum is because outdoor rec is really a space that brings people together, and you might want to watch a certain debate on TV later. This is one of the things that bring us together really across the aisle, and I hope that we take that spirit into the rest of this year. I do want to give a quick plug. If you liked tonight's program, we're Hourglass. We do a program like this every month of the year, and I encourage you to become an Hourglass member. For $150 a year, you can come to our programs every single month at the Ware Center and learn about all kinds of community issues. It's the best deal in town, and I'd love to see you all again. So thanks, and have a great, safe evening.